I'm Itai. Before we start, I actually have a very important question. I want to run a poll of how much coffee people drank today. So it's a very important poll. If you drink 1 cup of coffee, raise your hand. Okay, if you drank 2 cups of coffee, raise your hand. 3 cups? 4 cups? 5 cups? Holy shit. Okay, fair enough. More than 5? Okay, 5 is the winner. Good job. We don't get anything, but fair enough. So let's start. So I'm Itai from Dynamic. Who's heard of Dynamic before? Oh wow. Okay, this is great. It's a nice crowd. So what we'll talk about today is kind of the concept of moving from siloed embedded wallets to global embedded wallets. But the agenda will be the following. First, I'll talk about Dynamic for the next 5.2 minutes in shameless founder fashion. Afterwards, we'll talk about kind of the concept of abstracting Web3 user experience, some of the challenges. First, the challenge of onboarding, and then the challenge of interoperability or globality, which I don't know if is a word, but let's go with it. And then we'll kind of dive into the details there. But let's start with Dynamic and really very quickly what we do. So at the very basic level, what Dynamic does is help you create magical on-chain experiences. So really everything that happens after you click login or sign up on an app is where Dynamic plays. And we were founded about 2.5 years ago. We're backed by A16Z, Founders Fund, and a bunch of folks. We are used by a bunch of projects today, anywhere from Magic Eden to Animoca to Pudgy to Doodles. And at the very basic level, Dynamic can look like multiple things. It can look like a very Web3 experience. So if you take as an example, let's see if this loads, Magic Eden, and you click Connect Wallet, this is powered by Dynamic. So the multi-chain wallet adapter and then multi-chain linking after you connect the wallet is all powered by Dynamic. So it can be a very Web3 type of experience of linking wallets together and kind of connecting them. As a good example, you can see multiple wallets linked to the same account. So here we're linking a Bitcoin wallet to that same Magic Eden account, and you can kind of jump and swing between all of them. So this is a good example of where Dynamic is a very Web3 type product. Or it can be the complete reverse of that, which is, by the way, we also link kind of the social login, Twitter, all your wallets on Magic Eden. So if you play around with Magic Eden, you're probably playing around with Dynamic. But it can also look the complete opposite. So this is a company called DFlow that is kind of a DeFi exchange on Solana. And here, it's a completely kind of headless type solution where it starts with embedded wallets. You log in with OTP, and at that point, you're done. Right? So Dynamic as a product is really everything that happens after you click login. It can be a very Web3 experience. It can be a very Web2 experience. So that's DFlow. As a good example, you don't really see Dynamic anymore. So it's the completely other end of this. So this is what we do, but let's stop talking about Dynamic. If you want to talk more about Dynamic, come find me afterwards. But let's actually get started on the topic. So we are moving to a wallet-based world. And what that inherently means is that if you fast forward 5 years, pretty much all apps on your phone, all websites you visit, might have a financial Rails component to it. So it might have kind of a crypto Rails component to it. You might not know about it, you might not care about it, but it's a very good way to turn your app into a fintech app. It's a very good way to enable multiplayer mode between apps. And so what we think is that, and what we're seeing happen, is that apps, whether they're kind of crypto native apps or kind of Web2 apps, we're starting to think about these embedded kind of crypto rails in the form of embedded wallets. And in that world, we're seeing a bunch of these really interesting use cases for embedded wallets, right? So we're seeing real-world asset customers saying, look, I want to give access to treasury bonds or treasuries outside the US, or I want to give access to kind of energy bills or anything of that sort, but folks don't really need to know it's crypto. So it runs on crypto rails, but they don't need to know it's crypto. That's a very good use case for embedded wallets, right? So log in with an email, log in with a social account, and generate a wallet for someone without them knowing, right? There are use cases around Venmo, right? So Venmo is a very US centralized kind of experience, but technically you can expand Venmo globally if you spin up non-custodial wallets across the entire kind of experience, right? So that's a very interesting use case. there are contractor payments. There are things around sports, right? So I don't know if folks have played around with OneFootball and the experience that they launched recently on Farcaster. They had tens of thousands or more type of kind of folks logging in, and those folks just logged in with their Farcaster account, right? So they didn't really need to know that there's an embedded wallet or a wallet in general in the background. That use dynamics is it. Right? There are physical experiences like I1K. So all of these folks are building experiences that rely on crypto rails, but they don't necessarily need to know it's crypto. Right? They don't necessarily need to know crypto exists, and so we can kind of divide the world into these two types of products, right? Very crypto native products like a Magic Eden or a Uniswap or any one of those where you kind of see crypto and crypto is front and center. And these types of products which are kind of trying to abstract away crypto and give a Web 2 experience while leveraging the benefits. And in that space, what you're starting to see is this kind of crypto-enabled stack to enable that experience. So it's a set of tools that you're seeing. A good example is chain abstraction that was just talked about. But it's a set of tools that you're seeing that folks are using to generate that experience. It starts with auth, and then you get embedded wallets, you get account abstraction, you get kind of on-ramps and off-ramps. The idea is that you get this kind of really nice experience or a bundle of tools, which is that crypto-enabled stack, that let you create these experiences that we talked about. Really let you create the login with email experience, and everything happens in the background. But in that world, you really have two challenges, right? The first one is the user onboarding challenge, meaning how do I make it really, really simple for someone to get started? And then the second challenge is, great, I onboarded a user, they have a wallet, but how do we now let them play multiplayer mode, right? How do we now let them experience the other parts of the ecosystem? So we'll talk about both of those, we'll focus on two. So challenge number one is that people kind of just want a magical moment, right? We saw this in the D-Flow type of experience. They don't really need to care about crypto. They just kind of want to log in and experience a product. And what we're starting to see is a lot of companies like Dynamic and others that kind of abstract that away, that give you login with social, login with phone, etc. Generate a wallet in the background, and then potentially generate an account abstraction layer that even abstracts away gas fees, that potentially kind of does cross-chain or chain abstraction type stuff to even abstract more stuff away. Right? And so we're starting to see this problem get solved really, really nicely as to abstracting away the complexity of getting introduced to crypto. Right? But that's step one. So step one is someone logs in and they have a wallet. Step two is how do they interact with that wallet outside the ecosystem? And that's where this was a very long intro to this actual presentation, which is how do you think about interoperability of these wallets and the global nature of them? Globality, which I think is a word, but I'm still not 100%, I'm like 80% sure. So that's this presentation, and the idea is that you created a wallet for someone, but now they have 10 wallets, they have 20 wallets, they have 30 embedded wallets, and the question is, okay, that's not a real sustainable set of problems, right? Like, how do you actually consolidate that over time, right? And there are a lot of outstanding questions here, and you see some of those being competed at the EIP level, some of those are just being competed at kind of multiple folks trying to think about global wallets within their ecosystem, and that's where I want to focus. So the problem statement is the following, which is how do I avoid having dozens of embedded wallets for a single user across 12, 15, 20 apps, right? Or in other words, hold on, yeah. Oh, okay. In other words, how do we get to global wallets? So there are multiple approaches to this, right? The first one is, are global wallets branded? So do I know when I'm logging into website A, right? So D-Flow. Do I know when I log into D-Flow that I have a wallet that I can recognize when I go to website B and log in with that same wallet? Right? That's problem statement number one, which is like, how do I tell whether I can reuse the same wallet from website A or app A to app B, right? That's challenge number one. The second challenge is the user experience challenge. Do I need to download anything in order to kind of experience the multiplayer mode across apps, right? So I downloaded D-Flow, Do I now need to download a separate wallet in order to experience kind of that integration between different kind of apps in a single wallet? And another question that's really interesting is what percent of customers really care? We care that you don't have 10 wallets or 15 wallets or 20 wallets, but do end customers really care? Right? Some customers don't actually really care because they don't think about a wallet as a separate thing. They think about it as a layer within an application. Right? So if I log into Venmo, the fact that Venmo has an embedded wallet for me, right, which they do, right, they let you store crypto, is not really relevant. I don't think about it, oh man, I have another wallet which is a Venmo wallet. Right? And so that's also a key question to ask. But what I want to focus on is actually this really interesting concept, which is the industry talks a lot about global wallets, but global wallets are actually a misnomer, right? Global wallets are a misnomer because really globality of the wallet is done within an ecosystem, right? So a wallet is global within the provider ecosystem. So if I create a global wallet within Dynamic, it's global as long as you're using Dynamic, right? And so wallets aren't really global, they're interoperable. And there's a slight nuance here, but it's really important. Now, some of these lines get blurry, so a good example is Coinbase is an example with the Coinbase Smart Wallet. It's not a global wallet, but Coinbase has this giant ecosystem around it. So within Web3, it feels very global, right? It feels like any place you go can have a Coinbase Smart Wallet access to it. But if you start venturing outside Web3, it's definitely not global. If you go to any site and try to log in with a Coinbase Smart Wallet, most of the time that button won't exist, right? So the key question is not globality of the wallets, but how does a wallet become interoperable outside the ecosystem, right? And so that's the first kind of takeaway of this presentation, which is global wallets actually do not exist, right? They would never exist because there's no one winner take all in this entire market. Even in Web 2, you have login with Google, login with Facebook, login with GitHub, etc. And so really what you're going to see is not a single global wallet. You're going to see multiple interoperable wallets that work across ecosystems, where someone that has a dynamic powered wallet can log in outside the dynamic ecosystem and vice versa. And that's what you're going to start seeing more and more. So really, wallets aren't global, they're interoperable. And sometimes it's easy to miss because, again, Coinbase or MetaMask have these really big ecosystems in Web3, but there's a slight nuance there. And so let's talk about how to build interoperability. The way to think about, if you're an embedded wallet provider, the way to think about interoperability is using standards that are already out there and connecting to those. Right? And so within Web3, we have incredible products like Wallet Connect that exist at pretty wide distribution. Shout out to the Wallet Connect team. That exist at pretty wide distribution. So you can hook up to those and create kind of a global experience as long as someone has a Wallet Connect type plugin. You can use the Coinbase Smart Wallet Adapter or the Coinbase Mobile Wallet Protocol, which let you kind of become interoperable wherever the Coinbase SDK exists. But outside those, you might want to start looking at things like OAuth that exists elsewhere, right? So things that exist in Web 2, where just like you would log in with Google, you would log in with a wallet, right? And so the name of the game in the next couple of months, what I think you're going to start seeing in the industry is really picking up on these kind of standards in order to try to accelerate how the global wallet they create, or the set of global wallets they create, kind of can connect outside their ecosystem. That's what we're going to see more and more as an example. So, and the key takeaway here is one should assume that most companies will not integrate, will not do custom work for you. Right? So if a Uniswap needs to make changes in order to integrate your wallet, you're off to a bad start. Right? And so that's what I think we'll see more and more is really people piggybacking on existing standards in order to connect to more places. And a good example is maybe the Coinbase Smart Wallet, which I think is one of the kind of interesting and super innovative approaches on how to create the sense of global wallets very, very, very quickly. Right? And I think they've done an incredible job of moving from no one knows about the Coinbase Smart Wallet to kind of creating an ecosystem very quickly. The way it's done is the following. So this is, for those that don't know, this is what the Coinbase Smart Wallet looks like. So for instance, if you go to the dynamic wallet adapter and you click Coinbase, that will pop up without having to install anything. You can connect, you can sign with a passkey, and it kind of works. So the beauty here is that it uses Dynamics wallet adapter, right? But Coinbase works there. So it's technically outside the Coinbase ecosystem, right? And what they've done, which is really cool, is they mimic this OAuth flow, which is very familiar to users. And they let it they distribute within their existing distribution of the SDK that Coinbase already supports and exists on all these sites like a Magic Eden, like a Uniswap, like an OpenSea, etc. And let folks very easily just upgrade to the latest SDK version to access things. But Coinbase actually takes it a step further, and in their docs, they provide these guides for how to implement Coinbase if you don't have access to it already, right? So they're expanding beyond the global nature of their ecosystem of where Coinbase exists today, kind of outside it very quickly. So what you're seeing with this example is a first, I think, attempt at creating this really nice global wallet by hooking up to existing standards, hooking up to existing distribution in a really nice way. The key thing here, by the way, is that it's branded, meaning you can easily recognize it's Coinbase. Right? And that's a key thing about global wallets, is that you have to really easily see that you identify the wallet very quickly. It comes back to the DFlow example of, okay, with DFlow, we logged in with an email, you don't necessarily know what wallet is the underlying wallet. And so there's a challenge of branding here. Now, we talked about all of this. I'm trying to hopefully keep this short, so I want to talk about kind of the two last things. I want to talk about what's next if I'm a DApp or a website. What do I do next as a result of this trend, as a result of kind of moving to global wallets? And really, as a DApp or a website, you have to decide. Do I own my users? As in, do I want to build an ecosystem around my DApp or website? Or do I want to leverage other ecosystems? So let's take Uniswap as an example. So Uniswap, as an example, wants to own their users, right? The way you see it is they built a Uniswap wallet app, right? And over time, they're going to probably push that front and center. And then over time, they're probably going to add more ways to log in, put that front and center. Magic Eden does the same thing. I'm assuming other big players do the same thing. And so they're going to start thinking about how to create global wallets outside their ecosystem. So I think what we're going to see, and we're going to see this in the next slide, is a trend where some of these bigger platforms that have distribution are going to start creating these really interesting global wallets, very similar to a Coinbase Smart Wallet, that kind of leverage that form factor, leverage that pop-up form factor, and try to expand beyond their ecosystem. Right? But if you're a smaller DApp, you might want to leverage existing wallets versus trying to create your own. So instead of kind of having a login with email, you might just want to create a wallet or create a user which pops up a Coinbase Smart Wallet or any of the other ones that will probably come out in the next couple of months. Right? And so that's a decision point that folks will have to make. And our prediction is that we're going to see some of the bigger players in the market inherently start building their own version of the Coinbase Smart Wallet, trying to jump on that trend. So this is what we're going to see. I'm going to end with this, or I'm going to end with like one more slide. But we're going to see the following. First, you're going to see about 5,000 folks trying to build their own version of the Coinbase Smart Wallet, which is fine. It's just going to be a little bit chaotic for a little bit, right? There's not going to be a winner-take-all here. There's not going to be one global wallet that everyone uses. Right? In the same way that you're not going to have one credit card in your pocket, you're probably going to have multiple. Right? And depending on your region, you might have different credit cards, and depending on your bank, etc. There's no one winner take all in global wallets. We're not going to wake up and all of us are going to use the same global wallets across all sites. It's going to get messy for a while. Right? And what you're also going to see is you're going to see a lot of these companies try to create ecosystems around their global wallets, or around their interoperable wallets, to create these network effects around kind of their own implementation. That's going to be an interesting trend. So this is all a very long way of saying what you're going to see over the next few months is just pure chaos of folks trying to create these global wallets, create these interoperable wallets very quickly and take different approaches to get to them. And for a while, we're going to get more wallets, not less, as a result of that. But that's fine. It's like chaotic in a good way, where over time, I think you're going to have 10, 15 wallets that you're going to recognize the brands of and use across all these sites. So all presentations should end with an inspirational message, in my opinion, and mine is the following, which is, it's very chaotic, but we're making progress. Meaning we're moving in the right direction. There are a lot of unsolved problems here, right? There's a lot of unsolved of what's done at the account abstraction level, what's done at the AOA level. How do we work across chains? How do we work outside EVM land? But we're making good progress as an industry on this. So while you're going to see a lot of chaos around embedded wallets, around global wallets, around interoperability for the next couple months, it's going to get better very, very quickly, I hope. And with that, I think we're over time, so I'm not gonna do a bunch of questions, but if someone wants to ask me afterwards, I'm around. If you wanna chat about anything at all, this is my Telegram. I think I spelled it correctly. I tried to do this at 4 a.m., so I think it's fine. It's my email. I'll be around, I'll be downstairs. Thank you guys for listening.